trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your soulmate become your cellmate?
Does black love still exist?
What are your bedroom turnoffs?
Fantasies and fetishes.
Financial infidelity. I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait?
Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy stuff?
The child wasn't his, and you still had to pay child support.
It's a very heated topic.
How was that right?
Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to ask you.
Damn.
He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Betrayal has been committed.
Hit you with the bad touch routine.
How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my neck.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do you write women so well?
Zoe Williams.
Reason and accountability.
The voice of reason.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Monica.
Elijah, what is today's question?
This question is from Sarah, and Sarah says, my husband is a Republican and I'm a Democrat. We're already arguing about the elections. I'm afraid for our marriage. What should I do?
So this may be a short one, because my answer is pretty quick. If you're talking politics and it's impacting your relationship, maybe you shouldn't talk politics, especially in today's divided climate. It's tough. I mean, people are really seeing things one way or the other. Just kind of broaden this conversation.
Okay.
So let's say there's a relationship and I want to have kids and you don't. Or I want to okay. I want to practice a certain religion and you won't.
Bye.
Right?
Yep.
So even though we do our best to serve relationships and make relationships work, I think there's certain conversations that if you're not in alignment, if you're not have an agreement, then maybe that's not the right relationship.
Yeah, so I think that you've hit two things so far. First of all, talking anything where you have a complete opposing opinion about is probably not going to go well in a relationship over an extended period of time. Unless you love to argue and it totally turns you on and goes to the sex. Because otherwise, it's not a great thing. And in relationships where you have ideas about things and you want to share it, I think it's very important to have a voice. I think it's very important to have an opinion. I think it's very important to speak your truth. But if it's causing friction or an inadequacy in your relationship, well, number one, you could look at it as, is it the right relationship for me? Because if you could be in a relationship with someone who sees the way you see without having to convince them of your point of view, then the whole expression of yourself isn't a challenge. But when you join in a relationship and you discover that you have very vast chasm between your decisions and between your opinions, it leads to a lot of arguments, a lot of wanting to be seen for your point of view. And in my personal opinion, that's not an easy to navigate relationship. It's possible. There are people that have done that. There are also people that have been having one opinion and in relationship learn to see it the other way.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's an easy road. I don't think it's a good, easy journey.
It's not an easy journey. But let's just try and bring some...
I've been telling y'all for a long time, nobody wants to listen. Most people are not dating and or married to a person. They are married to an ideological construct. And that ideological construct has built-in expectations and outcomes. And they would rather throw the person away and keep the ideas than they would to maybe even sit down and evaluate their ideas. Are these healthy ideas? Do these ideas lead to a happy interaction with another person? Very interesting perspective that clip just shared with us. Nzinga from Pensacola was on the line before we came forward. Now we have come full circle. Talk to us, Nzinga.
Am I clear? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Forgive me, y'all. So what I was saying was, well, first of all, the parties are two wings on the same dirty bird. So it really doesn't make any sense to be so opposed. But if two people are together and they are, they have two different political affiliations, they just don't have to talk about that stuff. If you want to make something work, then you will.
I like that.
But if you want that to be if you want that to be the focal of the relationship where you're arguing all the time, then that will be it too. But if you have kids or, you have the same goals, I think, then that should be more important than what you do behind a, behind a curtain or privately.
You know what's interesting in what you're saying, Nzinga? This is deep. Stay with me. This is what's interesting about what you're saying. Because with our friends, we can set those kinds of boundaries. We can say, look, man, we're not talking religion or politics. We just hanging out. We friends. We're going to talk about things that we enjoy, but we're going to leave out the politics. We're not trying to get too heavy. You telling me right now, we can implement those same practices and principles in an intimate relationship. I don't want to know your I don't want to know your political affiliation. I don't want to know what you're down with, and you don't need to know about mine. Let's just focus on each other. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't necessarily have to hide that from me. I don't want, I'm not on that type of time. I don't, I'm not going to shy away because you say, something I don't necessarily agree with. I respect you. I respect your decision. Just because I don't agree with it, disagreement doesn't mean disrespect. So I'm not going to say I don't want to, I don't want to hear about it because I don't agree with it. It's just, and that you saying friends, but two intimate people, aren't they friends too?
This is America 2022, November 8th. Most people are not friends, even though they're in a relationship. I'm sorry. I know it sounds outrageous. But how many people stop messing with each other altogether after the relationship is over?
A lot. But even deeper than that, there was a time where people didn't even discuss what they did, because I grew up at a time where I went with my grandmother inside the voting thing. There was this velvet curtain, and you pulled it, and it was like a slot machine. People didn't talk about, but now it just seems like that's your identity. That's what you lead with. And like I said, there was a time, I come from a time where that stuff was private, and I think that probably held more relationships together than anything. You knew, but we just didn't discuss it. But like I said, now it's just like a badge of honor, so I don't know, things are different. But I do want to just say, Mr. Bill, that I do not trust most politicians. I think they go in with the most genuine intent, but they get seduced. And a lot of times, the person who's loudest, they're often waving a check, because it makes no sense that you have your constituents living in squalor, living in food deserts, and then you're clamoring and asking for votes. It just doesn't make any sense. And then people are at each other's necks, but you don't have no after school. I had after school. Where I grew up in the District 1. I played violin. I did all this stuff. These kids don't have that stuff. And we're bickering, and you're voting for people because you don't like them. That does not make sense to me.
Wow.
That's just
good point. We appreciate you. You brought Pensacola, Florida into the building to this discussion. Thank you so much. Listen, at 8:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have an update. Areva Martin was pulled into a CNN interview. Now, taking her place at 8:35 p.m., you don't want to miss this, Brother Tavis Smiley is about to jump in here and do the election update. Brother Tavis is about to join the Voice of Reason this evening. He's going to give us the update at 8:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. Listen. When I come forward, we got Dallas, Texas, Grand Prairie, Texas, Salisbury, North Carolina, Baltimore, Maryland. On the line, we talking to everybody when we come forward.
The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we fear, our feelings will disappear. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Power to the people. So what you and I have got to do is get involved. In order to do this, we're starting a voters registration drive. It's going to be the ballot or the bullet. After we get our people registered, we can then organize that voting strength and channel it in the direction that will get immediate
recognize the importance of the vote as a fundamental tool of Black political power and civic engagement. Become part of the national movement to defend and help make our democracy a more perfect union. Let's use all the tools at our disposal. Register to vote and then cast your ballot on or by November 8th.
Paid for by the African American Voter Registration, Education, and Participation Project.
The City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation invites you to participate in a virtual town hall meeting called Cannabis in Your Community, partnering on progressive enforcement. They want to engage and receive input for you on a very important topic, illegal cannabis activity in your community. Community involvement is a key component to identifying problems and discovering new ideas to fix them. These virtual events will include a presentation on how DCR, the Los Angeles Police Department, and other city departments work together to tackle enforcement against illegal cannabis business. Please visit cannabis.lacity.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, reminding you when we fight, we win. Asian Americans Advancing Justice is the nation's largest legal and civil rights organization for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Founded in 1983 as the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, Advancing Justice LA serves more than 15,000 individuals and organizations every year. Their mission is to advocate for civil rights, provide legal services and education, and build coalitions to positively influence and impact Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, and to create a more equitable and harmonious society. To volunteer, make a donation, or seek assistance, visit advancingjustice-la.org. That's advancingjustice-la.org. Or call 888-349-9695. 888-349-9695. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise. Got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roses in
you
the
already know.
In the alley with the baseball bat. I try to get
my playlist is my co-host.
With the torch, repossess my car.
Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
It's like a jungle.
Yeah. Why did I play this record today? I'm going to tell you. The record is called The Message. It's by Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five. And of course, it's called The Message because Melly Mel was conveying one of the first rap records ever, right? I think the second, technically, right? The Sugar Hill Gang was before this. But this is a 40-year-old record that is outlining the problems within our community that are still prevalent today. That's why I played this record. We're all still close to the edge. Now, I'm on record as saying, I've done many shows over the years. I'm on record as saying on the local level, the vote matters. We got to get out on a local level. If you want a different sheriff, if you want a different superintendent, if you want a different governor, if you want a different mayor, you got to get out on the local level and do what you got to do to change your community. Those votes, you see an immediate response because the people you want in, if you push hard enough, if you ally yourself with people that are pushing for better people, you get those people in. Now, if they turn out to be fugazi, then you have to go back and recontextualize your belief about the local level. But if you haven't done it, then it's hard for you to really argue about what's happening directly on the ground in your community. So that's that. But I'm here to tell y'all that record is 40 years old and still relevant. Is it us or is it the system that's letting us down? We're talking about it right now. And if you're in a relationship with somebody who feels like the system is unassailable, there's no problems with it. It's just our lack of participation. Is the relationship now doomed? Let me get to my phone callers that have been on the longest. Bowman from Grand Prairie, Texas, then Truemonger from Dallas, Texas.
I heard a lot of people say that.
Hey,
Joe, what's up, baby? How you feeling?
I'm good, brother. You got to turn your radio down. Your life is loud.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not on the radio.
Okay, well, tell me your thoughts, brother, about tonight's topic.
Do you have echoing? Do you hear echoing still?
No, you're good now.
Okay, good. What I was gonna say is, you're right about that, but the thing is, the system is what's controlling, and it's the people perpetuating. We perpetuate our conditions, and we do this by not paying attention to our surroundings and who rules. I don't get into politics too much because it's just not my thing, but it's obvious that we're in a corporatocracy and also that the bankers control. We know this. We have to understand our condition that we're in. That's just my opinion on the situation. And when it comes to relationships, I don't see how, like that lady, she said if somebody doesn't have her same views as her as far as being a Republican, Democrat, whatever, I think that's very childish. That's my opinion on that.
Or it could be good business. Because marriage is a business, right?
That's true.
And you don't want to get into business with an unsound business partner. Maybe politics is at the core of her life, and picking the right partner that is in alignment with her belief systems politically may be an upgrade for her or a leveling up for her.
I'm going to say this, though. If black people want something really done, you have to have an agenda, and you have to have money to back that agenda. We see different communities, and we see specifically the LGBTQ community make things go because they're backing it with finances.
But hold on, Bowman. Also, finances and politics. So you're making the argument that we should be involved in politics. You can't use the LGBT when they used our template for civil rights, and then they got the bread, and then they did what? They got political. So you're saying, yeah, other people are doing this, and then you go, but we shouldn't. Does that make sense?
That's in alignment with agenda, though. So see, that's why they're politicizing. They're politicizing that because it's manipulative, and it's for a specific reason. You know the reason. You know why they're doing that.
But again, I ask you the question: are they playing the game?
Yes, they are.
Are they playing the game well? Are they playing the game well?
Oh, beyond belief.
All right then.
We're talking about this stuff going to the schools.
All right then. So let's go back. Should we play the game well? If they playing the game well and they patterned how to, do this civil rights movement and this human rights movement that we've been on for 40, 50 years, are you saying we should or shouldn't play the game? I'm just asking.
It's always been said that you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas. So we should not. We should get our own some kind of way.
within this society?
As hard as it's gonna be, man, it's worth a try. What can we do?
Do you see? Does that sound like a sound plan to you?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, I just want to know if you hear yourself. Because if you listening to yourself,
no,
then
but I mean,
because sometimes people talking don't be listening to themselves. I get
that's
it.
why I said we have to have an agenda and money to back it. We have to because just on simple things. For instance, like maybe on the vaccine, right? Something as small as that. We have to have certain interests because if we don't, we could be doomed. We could be doomed.
Okay. So no political affiliation, but unity. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, man, it's tough, though.
I'm asking you. Is that what you're saying? Because let me tell you what that sounds like to me. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Let me tell you what that sounds like to me. Have you seen that video with that iguana running from them snakes? And the snake comes. Yeah, you on an island. We unified, but them snakes are everywhere, right? That's what it sounds like. So you got to think it through, brother. You got to think it through, man. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much, man. Bowman from Grand Prairie, Texas. You want to bring your city in the building? All you got to do is call me 1-800-920-1580. Truemonger, Dallas, Texas. Get in here. Let's talk.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Another topic is going to have people in their feelings.
Let me just say this real quick before you get started. I hate it when people can't listen to an opposing perspective. That's how you grow. You can't just listen to people that say the same thing you say. You have to listen to opposing ideas. Those opposing ideas typically expose weaknesses in your preconceived notions, your preconceived ideas. That's what it does. That's how intelligent people grow up. That's all I got to say. Go ahead, True.
Right. No, that's right. Because if we don't have those discussions, first of all, we don't learn from each other. And if you always going along with people you agree with or like, that's not really going to benefit anybody. It's just going to feed your ego. But through relationships, how relationships are affected by politics, if you allow them to be, then how strong is your relationship? If you allow politics to really affect how your relationship is it really that strong? If you can't discuss the issues that are in front of you instead of worrying about who the politicians are or what party they represent?
Let me ask you this: would you break up with a girl that had differing political views than you?
No. Only way I would do that is somehow they cause some kind of harm, some real harm. If we just having a discussion, I'm not gonna trip about that unless you just constantly trying to force it or you're gonna bring something into the home that's gonna be detrimental to everybody. Outside of the discussion.
So
that's how you use something.
That's
how you use something.
Let me ask you this then: shouldn't you vote on abortion rights in your state? Isn't that something that's important? Or maybe even child support rights in your state?
If you're aware of what the issues are, yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But a lot of people don't really pay attention to what the actual issues are. They treat it like high school, and they treat it like a popularity contest. Who's saying what I like? Whose presentation looks the flashiest or whatever, or who makes me feel good about whatever it is they're saying, even though they probably won't live up to half the stuff they're telling you.
Love it.
They get caught up in that.
Love it.
But I'm like, if you're in a relationship and it's severely affected by politicians or parties, because to be honest, both these parties play us. They played us for a very long time. And these positions are interchangeable. every 2 years somebody else jump in. They throw the same kind of babble at you. They get you all gassed up, think they actually gonna do something. When they get in there, they don't know who you are, what your needs are. They just got their position and now they kicking back, fulfilling whatever it is agenda, whoever answering to whoever their bosses are. We playing all this politics stuff. We don't focus on who's running them. But
I get it.
Like Bowman was saying earlier, I mean, we gotta figure out some kind of way to have our own political affiliation and build our own, because the Asian community does it. The LGBT, they figured out a way to do it, playing the game. Why can't we do that instead of taking all the time and effort and money from behind the Democrats and Republicans, trying to support them? Why can't we put that energy into our own?
That's fair. That's fair, Truemonger. I appreciate you asking those questions. I would love for somebody to answer them for me. Listen, True, you brought Dallas, Texas in the building, man. I appreciate the insight. I appreciate the questions. When we come forward, more callers from all over the country.
It makes me wonder how I keep them going under. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep them going under. My brother's doing fast on my mother's TV. Says she watching too much. It's just not healthy. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone.
He's on fire tonight. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard with an election update from the Black Information Network. Control of the U.S. Senate appears to be a pure toss-up. Republicans need to gain just one seat to win a majority, with Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada at the center of the fight. In South Carolina, NBC calls Senator Tim Scott the projected winner in the race against Black Democratic challenger Crystal Matthews. In Florida, Republican incumbent Senator Mark winner beating Black Democratic challenger Val Demings. Despite Demings' loss, she said this:
in the coming years, American democracy, it will be tested. This is going to be the great challenge of our lives. But I am here tonight to tell you that yes, even tonight, I still believe in America.
I'm Esther Dillard with an election update from the Black Information Network. Another update in just a few minutes.
Need an accident attorney by your side? All you got to do is call the accident guys.
Injured in a car accident or at work? Call the accident guys. Because unlike other firms, an attorney will negotiate your case, not a paralegal.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
As long as NFL owners have nobody to answer to, the league will continue to have an embarrassing shortage of black head coaches. Only 3 of the NFL's 32 teams have a black head coach, and one of them, Carolina Steve Wilkes, is working on an interim basis. The Indianapolis Colts hired Jeff Saturday, a TV analyst, to take over the head coaching duties after Frank Reich was fired on Monday. Saturday played 13 years for the Colts. The Colts have 7 black assistants on their staff, including defensive backs coach Brian Milas, who has 32 years of coaching experience. Even when you do the math, it does not add up to fair opportunities in the National Football League. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at MVP.com for a free case review.
If you're the victim of a car accident, call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to getting the maximum compensation you deserve, our team hits it out of the park. Call 833-MVP-WINS for a free case review.
Call me your MVP.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The 3 people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do, inform conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley, weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon, on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe.
Show them who we are.
KBLA Talk 1580 has not one, but two Black Panther Wakanda Forever weekend giveaways for KBLA Talk 1580 listeners. Friday, November 11th starts your weekend with a private screening of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, dinner for two, and an overnight stay at the W Hotel Hollywood. On Saturday, be our guest to the KBLA Wakanda Forever brunch and pool party. Win a KBLA Wakanda Forever weekend at the W Hotel Hollywood. It's simple to enter. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app and enter to win. Two winners will be announced Thursday, November 10th. Listen to KBLA Talk 1580 to find out if you will experience the KBLA Talk 1580 Wakanda Forever weekend, starting Friday, November 11th at the W Hotel Hollywood. Black Panther Wakanda Forever private screening, dinner for two, overnight stay at the W Hotel Hollywood, brunch and pool party on Saturday. Download the KBLA app and enter to win the KBLA Talk 1580 Black Panther Wakanda Forever weekend. Black Panther Wakanda Forever opens November 11th in theaters nationwide, but there's only one way to Black Panther Wakanda Forever weekend. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app and enter to win. The KBLA Talk 1580 Black Panther Wakanda Forever weekend is sponsored by Top Shelf Getaways.
Only the most broken people can be raping their seniors.
You're the victim of a car accident. Who goes to bat for you is crucial. We're MVP Accident Attorneys, the personal injury pros. Hiring the right law firm could be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. When it comes to getting the maximum compensation you deserve, our team hits it out of the park. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for a free case review. Call 833-MVP-WINS.
Call on me, your MVP.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Joe Williams. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ladies and gentlemen, you already know the Voice of Reason is on fire tonight. And tonight's topic is it's on fire, and it's going to turn up even hotter. We're asking the question if political differences can cause divorce. Areva Martin was like, "Yep." Areva Martin said, "We can't even get to marriage to be divorced. We got to have the same political beliefs." Tonight's topic is very heavy, but as I stated earlier, Areva Martin was supposed to come back at the 8:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time mark. She got called into an interview for CNN. So guess who steps in her stead? None other than my my friend Tavis Smiley joins the show. Tavis Smiley's on The Voice of Reason. Well, let's go, Tavis.
I'm laughing because if your playlist is your co-host, then what am I right about now?
My co-host.
Your co-host in the second chair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brother Tavis, man, tell us where we at, what's going on. You hear the conversation.
I hear the conversation. It's on fire, as you always say. And I'm looking at your board on this monitor, and you got a whole monitor full of phone calls.
Yes.
So let me hasten through this update and let you get back to your fine show and these calls. And I love the topic as I do every night. Let me give you the macro picture, and then we'll talk about the black scene, as it were.
Yes.
Because I started this morning on my program from 9 to noon, of course, talking about what this day could bring us, what this evening could bring us in Black America in particular, and we'll get to that in a second. But at the moment, it appears that Democrats, as Ariba probably mentioned last hour, are going to lose the House. It's just a question at this point, Zoe, of how many seats by which they will lose, what will be their margin of loss in the House. But it appears at the moment that Democrats are well on their way, to losing the House, and so Nancy Pelosi will no longer be. Of course, she's been in the news a lot lately because of the attack on her husband, Paul Pelosi. But in the future, Nancy Pelosi will have to relinquish her position as Speaker of the House. And the person who people think will get that position is a guy named Kevin McCarthy out of California. There are those of us who believe that Donald Trump has a surprise for Kevin McCarthy. And so that might not be a foregone conclusion that California's Kevin McCarthy would be the next Speaker of the House on the Republican side. Now, that's fascinating because you'd have two speakers back-to-back, both from the state of California. That might be historic. I don't know if that's ever happened before, that two speakers back-to-back have come from the same state. So we'll see what happens in the coming hours and days, but it appears that Democrats will lose the House. Nancy Pelosi will no longer hoist the gavel as Speaker of the House, but it could be Kevin McCarthy, again, a Republican out of California. We shall see. On the Senate side, this race is way too close to call. It's going to be a long night. Republicans need to pick up a net of one Democratic seat. The Senate right now is divided 50-50, so if they pick up a net of one Democratic seat, then they would be split, and because of the 50-50 split, the Vice President, who happens to be Kamala Harris, decides all tied votes. So that may very well change. It's going to be a long night, though, in a long couple years, if we wake up tomorrow morning and realize that the Democrats have lost both the House and the Senate. I heard you ask Ariba in the last hour how Biden might govern with a divided government. Well, we might find that out. It might be really divided if he loses both the House and the Senate. The Senate too close to call, but it appears that if John Fetterman can hold on and beat Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, it's all going to come back down to, believe it or not, once again, Georgia. And that's the race of Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. Again, just way too close to call, but it could come all down to Georgia. Interestingly, a race featuring two African-American men. How funny is that? That a race with two brothers could end up deciding who controls the Senate. We shall see again what happens in the coming hours. Specifically regarding black folk, given that I mentioned Walker and Raphael Warnock, clearly somebody black is going to win that seat. Well, let me rephrase that. Somebody with melanin in his skin is going to win that seat in Georgia. Somebody with some melanin is going to win. So we know that seat will be a seat that goes to one African-American male. But there are other black folk we were watching in this midterm election cycle of 2022. A lot of black folk on the ballot. First of all, Tim Scott won again in South Carolina, the only black Republican in the Senate. So he, alongside Cory Booker out of New Jersey, remained the only two black men, of course, in the U.S. Senate. Tim Scott announced that this would be his last term. We'll see if that holds up or not. But he announced that he won, but he's only going to serve this final term, and that'd be it. He's only in his 50s. That's rare for somebody in their 50s to have that access to power.
And then retire.
And retire that early on.
Right.
He said it's going to be his last term. Of course, Senate terms are 6 years, as you know. So he apparently has said he will step away from that seat 6 years from now. So Tim Scott wins, an African-American Republican still in the Senate from South Carolina. Sherry Beasley in North Carolina, we thought had a good shot of winning a Senate seat there. Former Chief Justice in the state of North Carolina, she lost tonight. So Sherry Beasley loses in North Carolina. Val Demings, who was on President Biden's candidate Biden's, I back up, on President elect Biden's, I should say, shortlist to be vice president. Candidate Biden's shortlist. Of course, we know Kamala Harris got the nod, but Val Demings, along with Karen Bass, who I'll mention in just a second. Val Demings out of Florida, then a member of the House, ran for the Senate tonight against Marco Rubio. She loses in that seat, that race to Marco Rubio. So we lose in North Carolina with Sherry Beasley. We lose another black woman. Loses in Florida, and Val Demings. Mandela Barnes, who was on my program just yesterday, I think. Mandela Barnes, young brother, are running for the Senate in Wisconsin in a tight race right now with Ron Johnson, a Republican incumbent. So we'll see if Mandela Barnes, named after Nelson Mandela, we'll see if Mandela Barnes be huge, but he's still in a race with Ron Johnson, Republican senator who has been a Trump loyalist and enthusiast. But Mandela taking him to the mat right now in the state of Wisconsin. I mentioned Warnock and Walker in Georgia. That race again too close to call. Stacey Abrams, while I'm speaking of Georgia, ran against Brian Kemp 4 years ago for an open seat for the gubernatorial race.
Right.
But tonight she ran against the incumbent governor, because of course Kemp won 4 years ago.
Right.
So it's a bit of a different race when you're running against an incumbent. And so Stacey apparently did not do as well tonight as she did 4 years ago. So Brian Kemp winning pretty handily over Stacey Abrams in the state of Georgia. Interestingly, Stacey did so much work to get all these other folk elected. She got Warnock elected. She got John Ossoff elected. Passed on a chance to be in the Senate. Passed on a House seat. She could have had John Lewis's seat when he passed away. She turned the opportunity down for that. Wanting to run again for governor in Georgia. Tonight, Stacey Abrams loses for the second time to Brian Kemp, this time as an incumbent in the state of Georgia. On the good, for many years, young friend, a dear brother, who again I've known for many decades, he and his mother, his entire family. Wes Moore wins in Maryland, so there's a brother governor in the state of Maryland now. Wes has an amazing track record, former Rhodes Scholar, served in the armed forces, was the lead of the Robin Hood Foundation in New York, a very popular foundation in New York City. So Wes Moore, a brother who I hope to have on my show tomorrow morning. I just reached out to him to get him to come in. Wes Moore on our show hopefully tomorrow, but Wes wins in Maryland. And Gavin Newsom, of course, not speaking of not a brother, but here in California, let me bring it home. Finally here in Gavin Newsom here in California, of course, no question about this. Gavin Newsom wins easily tonight for re-election after surviving that recall, wins here in California, and we will see the race that we are waiting on here locally, what happens in this Karen Bass, Rick Caruso race. As you know, polls just closed here in L.A., so it's going to be some time, but let's see how Karen Bass does here in Los Angeles. There's your update, Zoe Williams.
Wow, Tavis Smiley hit it out the park. There's so many people on the line. You know they want to talk to you, Tavis. Don't be scared.
No. This is the voice of reason.
This is the voice. No.
And I'm dipping out. I came in. I did what I had to do. I gave you the update, and I'm out at 5,000.
Man, we appreciate Tavis Smiley for coming in, covering for Areva Martin, who had to do that CNN interview. When we come forward, the phone lines will reopen. There's so many people all over the country that want to speak.
Is it good to you? More Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams when we come forward.
Governor Newsom not supporting making kindergarten mandatory. Maisha Cairo here. It's your K-Black Minute News. The Office of Governor Gavin Newsom released a list of bills from the current legislative session that he both signed and those that he vetoed. Among the bills vetoed was Senate Bill 70, which would have made attending 1 year of kindergarten mandatory beginning the 2024 to 2025 school year. Existing California law does not require children to attend school until they are 6 years old, the age that children typically begin first grade. Kindergarten is reported to help level the playing field for children who are less likely to receive high-quality child care or preschool. Parents and community members, what are your thoughts on all this? I'd like to know. Tweet us at KBLA 1580 #KBlackMinute with your thoughts.
I am Raina Creel. I will bring fresh ideas, transparency, and accountability. As the new mayor of Inglewood, I believe we the people have the tools, experience, determination, and courage to promote our vision for our community. I, Raina Carrillo, will focus on a better community, advocate for Inglewood School District, public safety, and the houseless. I would like to improve on public services and inclusive economic recovery and support small businesses. Driven by faith, a dedicated wife and mother, and the love of my community. As a mayor candidate, I'm a candidate for the people. Vote for me, Raina Carrillo, for mayor of Inglewood. Invest in the future of Inglewood. Raina Carrillo for mayor, paid by Raina Carrillo for Inglewood Mayor 2022.
More of the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor and even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a person to snatch. Cops give a damn about a need, bro. Pull a trigger, kill him, he's a hero. Get a to the kids who the hell care. One less hungry mouth on the welfare. First ship them, don't let them deal with brothers. Give them guns, step back, watch them kill each other. It's time to fight back, that's what Huey said. 2 shots in the dark, now Huey's dead. I got love for my brother, but we can never go nowhere unless we share with each other. We gotta start making changes. Learn to see me as a brother instead of 2 distant strangers. And that's how it's supposed to be. I can never take a brother if he's close to me. I let it go back to when we played as kids, but things change. That's the way it is. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's just the way it is.
The VOR, Voice of Reason, back in the building. We've come full circle after having come forward. Phone lines are cracking for tonight's topic. A house divided. Are black folks divided? Right? I asked that question because it was the great Krishnamurti who says conceptual thinking is what keeps men divided. What keeps man, as in humankind, humanity, divided. And many of us are divided within our own homes. We have a whole lot of ideas and beliefs and concepts that go unchecked until conflict arises. And then the poor management of those ideas, those wayward ideas, may lead to what? Relationship ruin. Wow. Tonight's topic has been a heavy-duty one. People from all over the country have been calling in, sharing their thoughts about that divided house, being married to someone, how, a divided nation produces divided couples and friendships. People split over political views and ideas. Man, I'm so sick of closed-minded people. The highest level of intellect flows through an open mind. The lowest level of intellect flows through a closed one, or a partially open one. 1-800-920-1580. Let's get to the phone lines right now. Let's talk about it. Who's been on the longest? Infinity from Baltimore. Get in here.
Man, peace, brother Zoe.
What's happening, fam?
Hey, man, family. Whew, as always, fire. You cook with all the grease, brother.
Thank you, sir. I've tried my best, man.
All the grease and the oils, man. You cook it, bro. Very well. This is, man, shout out to always to Robert Travis Smiley as well. I'm here in Baltimore City. By mistake, I did a few weeks ago. I thought I was going to something that had to do with real estate, and the brother who he named, Wes Moore, who's won governor for the state, was there, and he ended up speaking. And the brother sounded great. He sounded great, man. Everything that he spoke upon is truth and everything. But just relating that with the topic, man, I'm really not one for voting. I'm not one for participating in it. I'm not one for our people participating in it. As I've listened to yourself, as I listen to you, Kev, many people who know, the origin of voting, this play, and, it really falls on, it's like our participation in it falls on naught. It's like there's no outcome that's ever been for us. We still have the Voting Rights Act. And
but let me ask
it's like
you this, though, Infinity, because slightly off topic, but let me pull you back in. Would you date somebody that had a different political outlook? Someone who was totally integrated into the system and felt like, yo, this system works and I want to participate in it to get the most benefits out of it. Would you date someone or marry someone for that matter, right, with that kind of mindset? Would you do it?
Great question. I am open. I am always open to things, but quickly we see, if I'm open to it and she's not open to it, open to my perspective on the opposing end of that, then no. If she's open to my opposing stance when it comes to politics, and I'm open to her perspective, then I am willing. I am willing to do so. But if I'm
So let me ask you this. And I hear where you're going with that, but what happens if she says to you, you can't complain about a society that doesn't serve you if you don't do your civil duty, right, by voting, by affecting change in the society? What would be your retort to that?
My retort would be that voting happens every day, not with the pull of a lever, not with the push of a button. Voting happens where we spend our fiat dollars, our fiat currency. Voting happens where we place our interests and where we spend our time and with whom we spend our time with. Voting is not a one-day thing, one-day occurrence or event. It's not an event. It's what leads up to that. Those politicians are people that are going for.
But listen, somebody in the chat room just said, Third Eye just said, not voting is in fact voting.
Hey, I'll go with that.
Wow. Hey,
I'll
brother,
go with that.
Infinity, I thank you, brother. I got to push to the next callers, man. But thank you so much for the insight. We appreciate everybody for calling. No judgment here. Call in. Share your opinion. If you agree or disagree with callers and what they have to say, please call in and let me know. Tim, Salisbury, North Carolina, jump in here.
Yo, I mean, peace to everybody, KBLA and Joe. But how I feel about it, I think it's crazy for people to let the basic political stage come between what they have as a union. And so, I mean, that's just me. And I ain't trying to disrespect nothing. I know parties are not like that, but we all see the outcome for us.
You wouldn't
we all know how to.
You wouldn't let it come in between your relationship, is what you're telling me.
Nah, I wouldn't.
I like that. Hey, brother, thank you, man, for hanging on the line for so long. North Carolina is in the building because of you. We appreciate the call. Call me anytime, brother. I got to get these callers in very quickly. Vanetta, you got to keep it short, honey. We're almost at the end of the show. Vanetta, your thoughts. Would you let political differences contaminate the love you have with your partner?
No.
You would just say, that's your business, honey. Go on over there and do what you do.
Well, because I'm not political. I don't believe in holidays. I just, no. It wouldn't matter. I don't even, no. And then after I heard what Travis Smiley just said, hi, Travis Smiley. What he just said about what's going on down here in Georgia, I'm ready to go to bed. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Vanetta.
We
appreciate the call. Thank you, sister. Thank you. And then the final call of the day, he got back in, Fred from San Fernando Valley. Now, Fred, you got to keep it short and no profanity, Fred. It's got to be short now.
Okay. No, I would not get into it with my better half. That is an uncivil war. Understand? That's uncivil. See, we have a civil war where we play by the rules. You know, you get in your uniform, you wave your flag, right? Just like a football game. You understand? But when you start throwing blows in the parking lot, that's no longer a game. That's violence.
Hey, Fred, once again, man, thank you for calling in. Thank you for sharing the insight. We appreciate you.
Hey, here's Ted Cruz with them big hands, though.
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Listen, all relationships have differences, but those differences should not be defined as deficiencies. All right? No judgment. You still got to have empathy. You still got to cultivate understanding. You still have to cultivate respect and acceptance. And then sometimes you got to look in the mirror. Now, me personally, let me just say this. You got to seek to be understood, but you also have to seek to understand. Listen, I started the conversation. You finish it. Up next, Danny Morrison and Robin Ayers will keep the fire lit until midnight. We appreciate y'all. See y'all tomorrow when I come forward.
So we real time to heal each other. And although it seems evident, we ain't ready to see a black president. It ain't a secret of the seal, the fact of penitentiary's back, and it's filled with black. But some things will never change. Try to show another way, but you're staying in the dope game. Now tell me what's a mother to do. Being real don't appeal to the brother in you. You gotta operate the easy way. I made a cheat today, but you made it in a sleepy way. Sell it to the kid. Well, that's the way it is. Come on. That's just the way it is.